Put a baby to sleep. Baby got
I always forget how much fucking air this thing moves. Okay. So, finally, for all four of you waiting, here's finally a video of subs actually playing in one of my boxes. Happens to be my own personal build, but yeah. In the background, I'm kind of just going to show some pictures from the build process. I didn't really take any video or plan on making anything out of this. I just took pictures while I was building it. I kind of had to build it over a weekend because it's just what happens when you do a hobby as a job. You never get time to do it for yourself. But yeah, so this probably sounds like garbage. Obviously, a GoPro and phone microphones can't handle that level of pressure very well, so it probably sounds like garbage on everything you're listening to. But yeah, what the system is, though, is two ground zero hydrogen 12-inch D1s, each of them wired up to 2 ohms, and then as a pair they're wired down to 1 ohm, being hooked up to and ran off of a Sound Digital 3001 Evo X2 that is getting signal from a ground zero DSP amplifier as well. It has 4 channels of power that I'm using to power the ground zero nuclear kicks in the front door and the ground zero uranium tweeters in the front doors as well, and then using a couple channels off the DSP to send to the subwoofer amplifier. Yeah, it works pretty good. The box itself was fun to build. So I had a couple of requirements, I guess, or constraints on the box design. I didn't want to just wall off the whole back end of my car. Granted, I don't have seats. The car is very ridiculous. I don't have seats in the back or anything like that, but I didn't want to just wall it off. I like to lay back there and sleep if I'm on a long road trip, or if I get a really wild hair and decide to go up the mountains or something. I liked the idea of having a bed. So the box couldn't just be a wall, and I only wanted to use 212s. I wanted it to be a semi-realistic system. Obviously, most people aren't going to be running around with a 6... excuse the the cringy writing inside the box, but the box ended up being like 6.3 cube, I think. It's a pretty big box, but I wanted it to be within the realm of something that somebody could listen to, or whatever, and be like, oh, that might be something I want. I didn't want to put like 3 or 4 12s in there, or do a couple 15s or something in a giant system. The box was supposed to be tuned at 25 hertz. It ended up more being closer to 22 hertz or so. I Actually, in these pictures, you can see that there's 2 layers of carpet padding underneath the carpeting, so that when I lay on it, it's got a nice squish to it. I think I have a video in here of me squishing it. It's pretty comfortable to lay on. But yeah, acoustically, the box ended up being tuned closer to 22 hertz, which is really low, but it makes songs like that Ritz song in the second half of the beginning video thing really fun to listen to. I think that song is mainly focused around like 24 hertz or so. It also lets them really not have a lower limit on music, so the subs can play down pretty much as low as any music is ever going to get, and they still stay relatively accurate. The port is big though. The port is, I think, 14 by 4.5 by like 36.5 inches. Is a big port, but I wanted to kind of test it all out. Designed the box to be loaded off the rear wall, so the subs kind of face the driver's seat, and then the port is on the opposite side on the back. So on the back side of the passenger side, firing at the rear wall, loading off that rear wall, and boy oh boy does it produce a lot of pressure and sound. Obviously when you're listening to songs with a lot of really low bass, you're not hearing that, but you feel it. If you actually pay attention in the beginning videos, go back and watch the passenger door just flex like crazy. Obviously the sunroof is the most fun part to watch, but just watching the passenger door is really fun. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty. It's a pretty fun system. It's actually a couple years old now. These pictures are from late 2021 when I built this and put it all in. And obviously the videos of it playing were from, just a few days ago. And it's held up really well. I'm really happy with it. Even the Sound Digital amp, which people are worried about Sound Digital stuff, but I never really had any problems with them. Some of their smaller amps, like the 404s, I had problems with, but I guess those have been fixed now. But the original ones were not super reliable, but they are tiny. That 3001 is freaking tiny for the amount of power it puts out. I think we measured it at one point doing like 3,600 watts out, which was wild, but we didn't have good enough or good enough equipment to really say whether or not that was super accurate. But doing the math, it was doing a lot. It doesn't even really matter. At the end of the day, it moves those subs. Those subs are really fun. The Ground Zero Hydrogens are probably my favorite subs of all time. They, are relatively inexpensive. I think the 12, don't quote me on this, I'm not in the game anymore, as it were, but the Hydrogen 12s, I think they're like $600 a pop, which is ridiculously cheap for a sub that moves almost as much air as a W7, is damn near or is as accurate as a W6, and can take 3 times the amount of power that a W6 can take. Granted, as a downfall versus the W6, they can't play on low power like a W6 can. I mean, they can, but they're not going to be nearly as happy as a W6. But I mean, I've ran them. I built a ton of different systems with them. Small sealed boxes, and relatively small vented boxes, and obviously this huge vented box, and kind of everything in between. And they always perform. The 10s and the 12s are just amazing subs. That 3001 is fun. As far as an amplifier is concerned, it doesn't absolutely sap power from a system. Just Sound Digital makes their high power sub amps are amazing. The Ground Zero DSP is also, I like it. It's obviously not going to be as good as a VXI, but it's for what most people are going to need. It's a very good amplifier. In any case, though, the whole system, I think, turned out great. I've been happy with it for these years. it fit in there pretty well. It didn't take up too much space. Obviously, there's not a ton of space left over in there, and you gotta watch it. You know, if you have your head resting up on that angle, you gotta watch the harness bar if you wake up suddenly in the middle of the night. But it works. Yeah, there you can see it just says Evo X. It is an Evo X2 though. It's just a very early, kind of pre-release amplifier. There's some pictures of when I was replacing my seats. And yeah, those things, they're fun. But anyways, hopefully you like this video of subs actually playing. And yeah, enjoy it. Go back and watch it. If you didn't watch the passenger door or the sunroof or anything in the beginning, go back and watch that part. That's really fun to watch that stuff move around. It's even more fun to sit in there, but it's even fun to just stand next to the door. You can open up an entire door of the car and just stand there and feel the entire mass of the air in the car moving in and out of there. For 212s, it's wild. So, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed.